It is Thursday, July 20th, and we are expecting some pretty significant severe weather across parts of the Great Lakes. So the first thing that we have to do is take a look at the outlook from the Storm Prediction Center here, which has southeast Michigan, northeast Indiana, northern Ohio, and then the western portions of Pennsylvania and New York under an enhanced risk for severe storms beginning later on this afternoon and lasting through the evening. So on the Storm Prediction Center's 1 to 5 scale, an enhanced risk is a 3 out of 5. So severe storms are likely across this area. All severe weather hazards are going to be possible, although the main threats that we're going to have are going to be large hail and wind. And for the purposes of today's video, we do have 2 enhanced risks of severe storms, but we're going to be focusing exclusively on this one up here in the Midwest. So up here, we do have a significant threat to get large hail. So I live kind of like right in the center of this enhanced risk area for later on this afternoon, and I'll definitely say it's not very common that we're only expecting just large hail. But in this black hatched area here, surrounding southeast Michigan, northeast Indiana, into northwestern Ohio, this is where we could have some hail over 2 inches in diameter. So think about hail as large of a lime falling out of the sky. That is going to be possible with those rotating supercell storms later on this afternoon into early this evening. And this does include areas like Detroit, Michigan, southward towards Toledo, Ohio. Damaging winds is another concern that we have. Scattered damaging winds are likely throughout the entire enhanced risk area, including when a squall line develops and pushes into Pennsylvania and New York later on this evening. And then across the entire region, but not just the Great Lakes, southward through the Ohio and Tennessee river valleys, backwards towards South Carolina, we could get an isolated tornado or two. The highest threat to get a tornado is probably going to reside somewhere right over northern Ohio into southeastern Michigan, where those supercell storms are expected to develop along and ahead of the cold front later on this afternoon. But it is a very low threat, and the main things that we're concerned about are going to be hail and wind. So let's zoom into the Midwest so we can see kind of what's going on. As we go throughout the morning and head into the afternoon, we're going to see a very unstable air mass bubbling up here across the lower Great Lakes. You can see these yellows and orange shades here. This is where it's getting extremely unstable right here. We're going to have dew points in the 60s and 70s. It's going to feel very muggy when you step outside, and that is going to set the stage for the instability needed to get severe weather later on this afternoon. So let's take a look at our simulated radar. By noon, not much going on, but just a few hours later, bam, there we go. Right around 3 or 4 p.m., we're going to have explosive severe thunderstorm development here across southeast Michigan. We're talking about areas along Jackson towards Brighton, Michigan, northward towards Pontiac, and eastward towards Port Huron and Sarnia here. We're going to have development of severe storms. These are pushing into Metro Detroit around 3 or 4 p.m., and the threat exits southeast Michigan as we get beyond 6 or 7 p.m. These storms here, anything along the cold front or out ahead of that front is fair game to be strong to severe. Let's zoom out back to the Midwest, and you'll notice here we can see new storms developing here across southern Illinois into central Indiana. These could be severe as well. And then as we go throughout the evening, you can see a little bit of a different kind of thing happening. As we get towards about 8 or 9 p.m., we're going to see these storms pushing into Erie, Pennsylvania, into Buffalo, New York here. But it's going to be a squall line at this point when it moves across Lake Erie. And this could have a continued threat for damaging winds and maybe a couple of instances of hail as well. But the big thing that we are concerned about overnight into tomorrow morning is going to be flooding across Pennsylvania. So here's a look at that excessive rainfall outlook here, and you guys can see the Weather Prediction Center does have parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and even areas like Cleveland, Ohio under that slight risk for flash flooding here. Because as you guys can see, especially across Pennsylvania, we're going to see these totals add up pretty quickly this evening and overnight. As we head into early tomorrow morning, several areas in the region could be looking at over 1 inch of rainfall. So we are certainly watching that in addition to severe weather, and the primary severe weather threat, again, is going to be across the lower Great Lakes.